Today we're interviewing David Holmes. David has completed 4.5 years on council and is looking to be re-elected this time as a candidate in the at-large ward. Welcome, David, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Lyn.
Tell me, what motivated you to stand and what do you bring to the role?
Okay, I've always been quite political and I had no intentions of standing for council until I was involved with a consent for the Masterton wastewater years ago, and when the result came out, the commissioner rang me and said, David, you need, Ewan McQueen was his name, he rang me and he said, you've got to stand in this by-election that's coming up. So that's exactly why I stand, but I've always been involved with the community, with lots of various organisations I've been on and still am on, and the other thing too is that I just like to give my guidance, and at the end of the day, having been here for the last 3 years, I think we've learnt a lot, and I think that experience is very important for the next term, because there's going to be so much change with 3 waters, local government reform, RMO reform, and I think that experience is needed badly, and hopefully we might get some new faces on, but you still need some older experience to be there as well. So that's what I offer.
Okay.
And I offer honesty. And I never turn down anything that's too hard. One of the hardest things I had to do this term was the vote for the MRRA ward. I opposed it. I was the only councillor who opposed it. And the reason I opposed it is, my personal belief is that I think every person in New Zealand is a Kiwi, and every person has the right to have any seat, so I don't think it should be discriminatory giving it to any one particular lot. That's why I did it.
Cool. And I understand you look after the rural community here as well?
Yes. I've looked after the rural community, and we were able this year to finally, this term, to get the Rural Advisory Group going, which is a bunch of really good people, and we've even got some people that, when this term rolls over, we have people putting their hands up to join us on that group. One chap said he's too busy, so I know a lady that's really keen to come on, and she will contribute, but they'll have to just apply like everybody else. But it's a good thing, because there's a lot of rural people out there, and there's a lot of hurt out there at the moment in the rural area, and there's a lot of hurt because the rules are changing, with all the rules and regulations with farming, roading, everything. Everything you do, you've got to sign it off now. So it's a real challenge out there.
It's very complicated. Look, let's talk about rates.
Yep.
So do you know what the median wage is for Masterton people?
Well, I believe the median wage for the salary, the median people is around about the 25. Households, 50 to 60, but if you look up Infometrics, they say the median wage is 92, which I don't think is correct.
High, isn't it?
Yeah. And the New Zealand average is about 117, so there's a big variation there. But there's a hell of a lot of people in the Wairarapa and everywhere really hurting at the moment. There's no doubt about that.
We can tell that from the food bank.
Yep.
The number of families that have to go to the food bank all the time.
And just filling your car.
Petrol.
It's just huge. And buying groceries, of course, it's horrendous. And it's all those other extras that the people just value add to all the time with costs.
Yes, so talking about rates, so we've got 6.8% in the long-term plan over the next 10 years.
Yep.
I mean, do you think that's affordable, and what would be your strategies to support or manage
I think
that?
6.8, personally, I think it's going to be hard to hold it at that, with the way the costs are going. And we only have to look at our roading, how our roads are just shocking. And that, I've just been away, and it's not only in the Wairarapa.
No, it's countrywide.
It's everywhere.
Yes.
But the reality is that what's happening with roading, and roading is one of our biggest expenses as a council, roading is, the subsidies are being chopped back, or the percentage is being cut back by government. So when the government chopped the subsidy rate back, the ratepayer has to pick up the balance. So there's the most important thing with our spending, with our rates, is that it's how the money's spent and the return you get on it. So I think my biggest worry right through the whole system is that we just have to be careful what we spend, and very conscious of the rate increases for people. And rates have gone up, but so have rents as well, so it's just a double whammy.
That's right. Because I mean, we have some very rich people here, but we have some very poor people here too.
Yes.
And while some of them won't pay rates, their rents will increase.
That's exactly right.
Astronomically, and they will be forced out of town, so they become disenfranchised from the community, disaffected. Do you know? Because they've got to leave their families to find cheaper rents. You know, it happens all over the country. I understand that. But
rents are expensive everywhere.
Rents are expensive everywhere.
Here. In actual fact, Marston would be probably one of the more value-added places for rent. Like if you go to the cities, it's horrendous, but Marston is still high, but it's not as high as a lot of other places.
It's still a high percentage of their income, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. One thing we've got here in Marston, we have, and it's not about rates, but we have very good education for children at schools. We're damn lucky with that.
Yes,
because
that's
some
why
good
we attract
colleges
the
here.
families in
Exactly.
here, I guess.
Yeah. But we're also attracting a lot of older people and the retirees, and a lot of those people are on fixed incomes as well, so it's tough on them.
Well, I know I've mentioned it before. I mean, I'm on a fixed income pension, $17,000 a year. So it's way below the median.
Yeah.
And my rates are $5,500. And yes, currently I should say, you know, we have a joint income, so both of us are on pensions. But if one of us, or when one of us passes away, you know, $5,500 for rates coming out of 17,000. It's not affordable to live in our house. We'll have to move again. And this is a
it's
retirement
certainly.
house.
I think with the
a lot
rates,
of people in that position.
Yeah, I think with the rates, actually, Lyn, it's the system that's wrong.
It is.
It's definitely the system that's wrong, and whether that discrepancy is picked up by central government, which I can't see them doing it,
No.
but we have to look at other options.
Yeah, the formula's wrong, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Doesn't help people like us that are retired. Though.
No,
that's for sure.
It certainly does not.
No. So I guess what we're concerned about is that council and councillors are conscious of, you know, the lack of disposable income here and keeping costs down for their nice to have projects. That you seem to have an awful lot of projects going on in council, you know, and it's how can we pare those back to cut some of the spending.
Basically, every project has to be looked on its merits, doesn't it? You know, where you're going to get the biggest return. I think one of the biggest disappointments for me lately was the fact that we were so looking forward to the fact that it looked as though we were going to get a good train service to Wellington. 26 we were told, 2026, which was only four years away, and then of course we didn't get government funding, and that transition with the new rail also entailed the workshop being up here in Marston, and that would have employed another 50, and we've missed out on it now, so we've got to start again. But that's just because if we can get better access to Wellington, it's going to make
transport is an issue.
Transport a major problem.
Yes,
it is.
Except we've got NZTA who are slowing down the transport corridor between here and Featherston.
It's just
an average of 30 k's just about. It'll take you 2 hours to get to Wellington shortly.
I came home last night and from Wellington, and from Clearville to virtually to Marston, it's all double coned right along the road.
I've started on the upgrade.
It's not a good look, is it?
No, it's not.
Yes.
No.
And the potholes aren't helping either.
I can tell you the potholes are all over New Zealand.
They are.
It is a bitumen issue. It's not a council problem. We understand
quality.
that. Yeah, look, let's talk about infrastructure.
Yes.
I mean, that comes into it. But we've got large housing developments going on in Masterton. We've got climate change causing more severe weather events. We've got ratepayers living with portaloos down all over the place, but Coburn and Columba Road for 8 to 10 years now.
Yes.
You can't blame all of that on climate change, I have to say. We fully expect significant water restrictions this summer, and our infrastructure is going to struggle, you know, in future. So you have an interest in water resilience and storage?
Yes, I have.
So how do you plan on addressing this issue when you're...
We'll start off with the infrastructure, and we'll come back to the water storage. The infrastructure concerns me immensely because it's all very well doing lots of development up in Namatama Road on the west, because that's all new pipework. But it's between Namatama Road and Columba Road is the problem. because Homebush is on the east. It's the old story, we cannot get 4 inches of water or 6 inches of water through a 4-inch pipe. So that has to be modified. And I believe that if we look at a project from Namatama Road through to Homebush, and we talked about Coburn Street being a bad area for drainage, we need to look at putting a pipeline somewhere in that area, meeting up with the pipeline that comes adjacent to MRRA Road, takes it away that way, which it takes the main flow away from the main pipe going to Homebush, which is more towards the McCora College side of things. So it needs to be properly planned on the upgrades. We've actually done a lot of good work on leaks in the water pipes. I think we've been spending around about $3 million a year on upgrading water pipes, but there's still a lot of water seeping away. And the other thing, getting back to infrastructure with the water pipes, with the new metering system going in, we are isolating where the pipes are, where the leaks are, which is all helping. And with regards to our water for Masterton, with the purchase of land at Kaituna a few months ago, and more storage ponds being put up there, it's going to make a huge difference for Masterton alone. But over and above that, I'm a real advocate for bigger water storage. And the Wakamukas scheme, to me, once that was actually, the consent didn't go ahead, it really disappointed me, because that was one opportunity we had to carry on for larger water storage for Masterton, for security for Masterton, but also gave people the option to irrigate if they needed to. Now, this is not irrigation for dairy farmers. This is irrigation for that fertile country we've got for horticulture, particularly horticulture, small seeds. We have companies based in mid-Canterbury that are absolutely dying to move to the Wairarapa to grow seed, because it's more security for them. If their crops down in mid-Canterbury don't work, the ones up here will, or vice versa, but it just gives them a bigger diversity. Now we've got a lot of germination twice a year going on. We're growing seeds here in Masterton. The seeds are being taken off back to Holland, and the same year they'll be growing a crop over there as well. So we're multiplying the germination of these seeds twice in a year. So we're all looking at being more intensive, but we actually have to be more diligent with how much water we use, because we just don't want to waste water. And I just believe that it's a no-brainer that we haven't got on and put our big dam in. But we've also got the water resilience as well, which we've worked on, and Leo Vollerbrook and I were the two that kicked that away initially, which was good. And that was all sort of brought about by the fact, and I was so lucky, I spent 6 years on the Whaitua Committee with water allocation and water quality, and that was awesome. So the resilience thing came out of that, actually, and that's to be worked on. And there's a lot of people don't like storage, but I'm a firm believer that we need a big dam plus the water resilience in the rivers, saving water adjacent to rivers and things like that. It's just a combination of both. But it is a worry. Water is a worry, because you haven't got life if you haven't got water. Simple.
We've had plenty of it this year, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I'm sick of the rain.
And we just had 70 mils last night, and it's wet again now.
Yes, and we should be storing that.
I know. Well, it's the rivers. You see the water. The river, Ruramahanga River, runs past me. I see it every day. As soon as I get up in the morning, I see it, and you can hear it when it's flooding. And we've had big floods this year. That's another problem.
Well, we live on a floodplain, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We do. But we live in an area where there's a lot of rainfall in the mountains. It's 4 metres rain up there a year. Let's utilise it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Civic Centre.
Yep.
What's your current position on the Civic Centre, and where we stand in the debate?
My current position on the Civic Centre is that we need a Civic Centre. We have a very good site at the Town Hall site, and I believe that we should be utilising that site, and we should be using, if we can, as much local knowledge to design it and build it as we can. I think Masterton needs some sort of a centre, and I think that with the library, it can be upgraded where it is, and the civic centre on the town hall site, retaining probably the area adjacent to the roads, but removing the old town hall and putting a new civic centre in there, I think that would be fine. Costs are terrible now. It's very hard to put a gauge on anything. Anybody building a new house now knows just the cost of it, but that's been very poorly handled lately, what happened with the civic centre. And we got away to a bad start right from the word go when Kath Ross, this previous CEO, said she wanted to move to an area elsewhere rather than the town hall site, and she had 30.9 million put aside for it, but we weren't allowed to tell anybody where it was to go, and right from that very minute I knew the whole thing was, and I opposed it to the bitter end. Just the fact that they couldn't tell anybody. Do you go and build a house on a site that you don't know what the site's going to look like? You just don't do that. You don't go and build a house not knowing where the site's going to be.
It's a very autocratic decision from the CEO.
It was, yeah.
Biggest mistake.
You know, and then we had that terrible 6-5 split all through, which was very consistent. And that's been probably the worst part of the last 3 years on council.
So you're one of the famous 5.
I wouldn't call us famous, but I'd call us sensible, realistic. Realistic.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
But we realised that now, since that's happened, Lyn, we've got the old rec centre, which needs doing up, and you've also got the very active theatrical group that are coming up with some ideas.
Yes. Have you seen their proposal?
I haven't seen the full proposal, but I believe that we should probably be, as a council, and if I get on the council next time round, I'd be sort of pushing that we call a halt on everything and probably look at everything to see what we can do for the theatre company, the rec centre and the civic centre. That would be my theory. And then hopefully the costs will fall into line. But I think we can reduce the costs a lot because we've got some big companies here, and local donations to a big civic centre could reduce the cost a lot. Like we've got big timber companies here, we've got concrete companies, we've got all sorts of things. Families might even like to donate, the iwi donate. So these are all things we have to look at.
Yes, we're a big fan of keeping it local because Masterton should build Masterton.
Well, there's some damn good, smart people around here.
Yes,
there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. No, we agree. Okay, let's move on to amalgamation, David.
Yeah.
So local government reforms are coming. So what's your view on the amalgamation of the 3 local
We
councils?
should have amalgamated 6 years ago, and I was very much part of that, and I spent hours at Countdown and places like that, sitting there getting signatures. It was amazing, and to lose out on it was unbelievable. Couldn't believe it. It's interesting, you speak to mayors of I know one mayor south of here who can't amalgamate quick enough. I think the sooner it happens the better, personally I do. What happens with local government reform, I find it ironical that we should have the announcement of our candidates for the elections on Saturday, on Monday or Tuesday, government are announcing the local government reforms. I think that's absolutely crazy. We should have all known what it was going to be before now.
Yes.
It's my opinion.
It's quite parochial here, though, between the towns.
I think it's,
isn't it?
yes, you've only got to see what's happened with the pound, don't you?
Yeah, the pound is ridiculous.
I just seen today's paper that South Warrap don't want to bar us.
No.
Yeah, Carterton I think will come to the party.
Mm.
And I don't see, I just can't get South Warrap worked out. Like there's only 45 or 46,000 people in the whole of our electorate, or our 3 councils. But couldn't we, this is something I've thought of, on the rail car or the train, there could be a cage for dogs or cats or whatever it is, where the South Warrap people could put the animal in the cage, be picked up here in Marston. That would save a lot of money. But to have 3 separate councils, 3 separate lots of control officers, just doesn't...
Ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think they have 6. They have South Warrap have 6 or 7 dogs a year, or maybe 12 dogs a year they have a problem with. It's not a problem. Masterton's got the problem because we've got the population.
That's right.
So build it somewhere
Build
here.
it here.
Yeah, that's my theory.
Right, we agree. Look, we need to wrap it up there,
Yep.
David, but we really thank you for your time today, and we wish you all the very best for your election campaign.
Thank you, Lyn. Can I just say, I think it's wonderful that we have a ratepayers association here in Masterton, and I hope it continues to grow, because we all need to be constructive.
Yes.
If everybody's constructive again, and there'll always be the people that you can debate again, but one of the most crucial things in council is that we debate like hell at the chamber, but as soon as you walk out the door, finishes there.
Yes, well, we'd like to be part of that consultation moving forward. If
Good
we
on
can.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank
Very
you.
good.
Look, that was David Holmes, who's standing in the at-large ward. What did you think? We look forward to your feedback.